All right, well, welcome everybody to Reach and Read. My name is Katie, and I work at the Sacramento Public Library, where books are just the beginning. We're so excited to have you here and to have local yoga instructor Kat Sun with us today, and we'll get to her in just a moment. But first, I wanted to mention a few things. So just some housekeeping. So we are doing this in a webinar format, so all participant microphones and video have been disabled. But if you have a question, please feel free to use the Q&A button that you'll find at the bottom of your screen, and either myself or Kat will get back to you. If you're having any audio related issues, please exit the program and re-enter. We find that doing that will typically solve that issue. If you need closed captioning at any point during the program, please click the live transcript button that you'll find at the bottom of your screen. You'll click that button, wait just a moment, and then you'll see the closed captioning pop up and you can follow along. And also, this program is being recorded and will be shared to the virtual yoga playlist on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't been to our YouTube channel before, you can find us under Sacramento Public Library. And make sure to stick around after the yoga demonstration for a short book talk based on this week's theme. And I will mention this at the end of this series, I'm going to be sending out an email with a participation survey and a registration link to the next session of Reach and Read so that you can just keep joining us every Thursday. So please keep an eye out for that email. I'm just going to breeze over that in the interest of time, but I did want to mention that we have tons of health resources available at the Sacramento Public Library if you weren't aware. So like I mentioned, we have past recordings of virtual yoga programs on our YouTube channel. We have tons to choose from. You can go and revisit them or share them with a friend. We also host virtual Zumba on Mondays at 5:30 and virtual Zumba Gold on Wednesdays at 4. And Zumba Gold is great for beginners and older adults to join. And then, of course, you can check out a book about the benefits of exercise, mindfulness, and yoga from the library collection. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you and turn things over to Kat. So Kat, take it away, and everyone please enjoy.
Great. Thanks so much, Katie. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here with us. So as always, I'm offering this from my home. So if you hear any extraneous sounds like my father, my dogs, my neighbors, just please roll with it and just excuse the noise. Stay with your breath. Stay in your practice. And as always, it's good to have some yoga props nearby. So I always have a blanket, a couple of blocks, and a strap. So those are kind of the general yoga props I like to have on hand. If you don't have a yoga strap, you can use a belt or a necktie, a dog leash, anything like that to help extend your reach. If you don't have blocks, sometimes people use some books. Otherwise, sometimes for some of the things we use, like when we squeeze it between our thighs, you can roll up a nice firm towel or something just to give you something to press into. That something like that could also possibly work. But foam yoga blocks usually don't cost too much. So if you're able, they're good just to have on hand, especially if you continue to practice yoga from home. They're just really great to have. Okay, and then with that, we are in a 5-week series right now, covering the 5 elements through the Ayurvedic lens, which Ayurveda is the sister science to yoga. It's the science of life and basically health and well-being. That then allows us to deepen into our spiritual practice through yoga. So through the 5 elements, first week we covered earth, and then last week we went through water. This week we are moving up onto fire. So we're moving from the gross to the most subtle. So this week, the fire element, each of these elements, they also correlate with one of the energy centers. So first week with earth, we were focusing more on the pelvic floor, and the Muladhara chakra. Second week, we were focused more on this low belly region and the kind of creative, the second chakra of kind of creation. This week, we are into our solar plexus area in this third energy center. And as I introduced last week, each of the elements, they also have a beach mantra or a seed sound. So for earth, it was Lam. For water, it's Vam. And this week, as we focus on fire, the seed sound is Ram. So you sometimes see it spelled R-A-M, so Ram. So I invite you to take a moment and find a seat. So make sure you have maybe a little lift underneath your sit bones. something that allows you to sit comfortably while bringing your low back in. If you find yourself still rounding back, then maybe sitting up a little bit higher. If your knees are really hovering, you might find it helpful to have something supporting you underneath each knee. Then hands can rest on the thighs. And as you find your seat, start to rock to the front of your sit bones. As you rock into the front of the sit bones, that low back naturally arches in a bit. And then grounding down into the sit bone, connecting down into the earth. As you ground down, lengthen up through your spine, reach the crown of the head up for the sky. And then we'll just take a nice big shoulder circle so shoulders can move forward, up, back, and down. Maybe a couple of those, just getting a little movement through the shoulders, seeing how you feel in this area. Next time your shoulders go back and down, let's keep those shoulder blades sliding down the back body, letting your hands rest onto your thighs. So again, grounding down, imagine your shoulder blades sliding down the back body, the top buttock flesh slides down towards the floor as well. And then from there, lengthen the back of the neck and back of the skull up towards the sky. Let the sides of the throat soften back, sliding up behind the ears, nice and long through the back of the neck, back of the skull. And then imagine now hugging your navel gently in and up slightly, the collarbones broaden. So just nice and tall through your seat to start. And then we'll bring our hands now onto our diaphragm, kind of at the base of the sternum, just below the sternum, where your bottom ribs are. You'll feel kind of like where your diaphragm would be. Just bring your hands here, one hand over the other, and just take a moment. Feel the heat of your hands onto your body. And let's just connect in with our inner fire. So the fire element in the body is expressed through heat, obviously, but also like our digestive fire. So our ability to digest, whether that's food that we take in or information or emotions. It's just this ability to digest. When we're able to digest well, then we can eliminate what we don't need. But when we're unable to digest, then it creates toxins in the body. So really important to have a strong, healthy digestive fire. And right now, as we're moving through spring, we're in the season of Kapha, which we'll be covering the three doshas very briefly in the next series. But spring, it's the Kapha dosha time, and that is predominantly earth and water. So a lot of times people will suffer from allergies because it's like the snows are melting up in the mountains, and you might be experiencing the same with drippy nose and watery eyes. And so cultivating some fire during this time to help burn through that is helpful, because a lot of times they say when we have allergies, it's due to a weak digestive fire. Just taking a moment to tune into that inner fire, feel the warmth of your hand in this mid solar plexus region. Just taking a moment to ponder and connect in with your own inner fire. You might see a beautiful flame burning nice and steady within. You see it being able to hold its flame nice and steady and strong, being able to digest and transform whatever you take in. Again, whether that's food or experiences, sights, sounds, emotions. And then if it works for you, you can even try out that beach sound. So rum, 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 rum. Okay. And then go ahead and bring your palms together and let's just rub the hands together. So each of the elements is also connected to one of our sense organs. And so for the fire element, it's actually connected with our eyes, our ability to see. So rubbing your hands together, get a little bit of friction, a little bit of warmth. And then we're just going to cup the palms over each eye. Take a moment just to imagine you're sending this beautiful healing energy through your hands into your eyes, nourishing the eyes as the eyes soften in this nice darkness. Take a breath here. And then when you're ready, releasing your hands gently down. This morning, as we cultivate that inner fire, we're going to be working with a little bit of Kapalabhati. It's a more warming breath. It's called the skull shining breath. Now, if this breath doesn't work for you, then don't worry about it. Just stay with your natural breath and stay present with the breath. So with any of this breath work, if you find it's creating any kind of internal gripping or stress, then just release it, back off, okay? Especially since these yoga demonstrations are via webinar, I don't see any of you. I don't see who I'm speaking with, who I'm sharing this with. I can't see what's going on with you. So just you really please listen to your own body, honor what's right for you. So again, if it creates any kind of strain, just release it, let it go, back off. Okay. So for those of you who are new to the skull shining breath, let's just start with our normal breath. So let's just take a few breaths connecting in and out with our natural breath. So nice and tall through the spine. As you inhale, feel the air now moving over the space between the upper lip and the nostrils, through the nostrils, up into the nasal passages. As it fills up your lungs, that diaphragm presses down, causing your belly to expand out. With the exhale, the air moves out of the lungs through the nasal passages, again passing over the space between the nose and the upper lip. And as the breath moves out, the lungs empty, the diaphragm's able to lift back up, allowing the belly to hollow back. So just taking a few rounds of breath, connecting with that, feeling that expansion and contraction of your breath. Okay, so either you're going to just stay present with your natural breath, or if you want to join me in a few rounds of Kapalabhati, then the way we do that is we inhale naturally, and then we're going to gently pump the belly back for a more vigorous exhale. So it goes. And sometimes people find it helpful to have their hands on their belly. You almost also might want to have some Kleenex nearby. I should have grabbed some. Okay, so again, it's a natural inhale, and then just a pump on the exhale. So gently pulling pressing the belly back towards the spine. So go at your own pace. You don't have to follow my rhythm. Just go at a pace that works for you. Okay, next time, full exhalation all the way out. Full inhale all the way in. Pause at the top of the inhale. And then exhale, release. And come back to your natural breath and just see how that feels. Take a few rounds of natural breath. You might already feel a little bit of heat building. It's a warming breath. So if you're overheated, then this is not a breath you would want to be practicing. Okay, so then again, let's do another round. So take a nice natural breath in and a big exhale out. And then again, inhale to begin. Again, full exhale all the way out. Full inhale in. Pause for a beat at the top of that inhale. And then just exhale and release. And back to your natural breath. Just notice any effects. And we'll do that just one more set. So when you're ready, again, a natural breath in. Nice breath out. And then inhaling to begin. Full exhale all the way out. Full inhale all the way in. Fill it up to the top. Pause at the top. And exhale, release. And then just let your hands rest on your thighs. Take a moment with your eyes closed. Come back to your natural breath. Just notice any effects from that. Notice any inner shifts. The shifts are subtle usually. So just tuning in, bringing your awareness inwards, noticing how you feel in your body, in your breath body, as well as in that mental emotional body. Okay. And then from here, just going to move back a little bit so you can see me a little better. We're going to go ahead, blink open our eyes if our eyes are closed. And let's just bring our hands on our thighs and start to circle our torso over our sit bones. So just circling your chest over your sit bones, making sure you're breathing. So maybe you can find a breath pattern that works for you here. You can make that circle over your sit bones as small or as big as you like. Letting your neck and your head also have some movement. Good. Now we're going to slowly bring it back towards the central axis. And until you find that place of stillness. And then slowly start to spiral it in the other direction. So again, making sure you're breathing. Feel your sit bones as you circle your chest over the sit bones. Notice how your weight might shift around the perimeter of the sit bones. You're always grounded through the sit bones. Good. And then again, slowly bringing that circle back in until you find that central plumb line again. And take a pause there. From here, you can take your hands behind you, feet on the floor. Just windshield wiper your knees a little side to side. And then we're going to come back to cross-legged, but with the other leg in front. Good. Okay. And then let's just rock to the front of the sit bones again. As you rock to the front of the sit bones, this time bring your heart forward. Shoulder blades come towards each other behind you. Look up. Gaze up. Exhale, reverse, rounding back. Tailbone curls forward, crown of the head forward, chin towards your chest. So it's like a seated cat-cow. Inhaling, expand your front body forward. Exhaling, expanding the back body back. Just a couple of cycles, nice and easy. It's getting some undulation through our spine here. Good. Making sure you're moving with your breath and you're breathing. Good. And the next time you inhale, let's just bring it back to neutral spine again. From here, we're going to inhale, sweep our arms out and overhead. And as we exhale, sweep your arms down as you spin to the right. Inhale, come up through center. And exhale, spin it to the left as you bring your hands down. Inhale up through center. Exhale back to the right. Inhale through center. Exhale back to the left. This time, inhale up through center. As you exhale, spin to the right. Keep that right hand behind you. Left hand can be on the floor in front or reaching for the right knee. Ground down and lengthen up as you inhale, nice and tall through the spine. Low back arches in. As you exhale, start to spin that twist up the spine. So navel, then the diaphragm, the chest, the neck, the head, the gaze shift back. Breathing here, noticing how it feels to breathe in the twist. Here, the diaphragm, the ribs, the lungs, they're all slightly torqued. So just feeling that sensation as you breathe. Take another breath in and exhale, spin your head forward, look over your front left shoulder. Take a breath in here. Good. And then exhaling will unwind. Inhale, arms out and up again. Exhale, spin to the left, both hands down. Left hand behind you, right hand now reaching for the left knee. First breath in is to ground and lengthen, low back in, shoulder blades down, heart buoyant. Exhaling, start to spin up the spine, gazing back behind you. So navel back, then the diaphragm, the chest, the neck, the head, the gaze back. Take a nice breath in here. And again, notice the sensation of breathing in the twist on this other side. Notice how it might be different from the first side, or maybe it feels about the same. Breathe in. And with your exhale, again, spin your head to look forward over your front right shoulder. Take a breath here. Imagine broadening through the left collarbone, broadening that left chest back. And let's go ahead and release. Inhale, sweep our arms out and up overhead again. This time, keep your right arm lifted. Bring your left fingertips down. We're going to ground through the right sit bone, lift up through the right arm, but then shrug your right shoulder blade down the back. Stay grounded as you lengthen up, and exhaling, we're going to tip it to the left. So stay rooted in that right sit bone as you tilt towards the left. And it's from the grounding through the right sit bone that you can then lengthen up through that right seam, reaching the right hand for the left. Keep the right shoulder blade down the back though. So try to avoid that shoulder way up in the air, but really shrug the shoulder blade down the back. And then grounding down, and again from the grounding, reaching for the left. Breathing here. Inhale, both arms up. Keep your left arm lifted, bring your right fingertips down. This time ground down through that left sit bone as you reach up with the left arm. But then again, can you track that shoulder blade down the back? Okay, stay grounded as you exhale and tip it to the right. So staying rooted through that left sit bone. And it's from the rooting that you can lengthen, reaching the left hand for the right. And then again, shoulder blade down, away from the ear. Stay rooted as you lengthen. One more breath here. Really get some space. Fan open those ribs. And inhale, arms out and up. Good. Exhale, let's release the hands. Take some shoulder circles here. Okay, from here, we're going to come onto our backs. So on your back, you're going to want to have blocks and straps nearby. I like to have a folded blanket for a pillow underneath my head. So if you lay on the floor and your chin is jutting way higher than your forehead, like this, then it's really good to have something underneath the skull so that you get your forehead and chin at about the same level. And that sends a message to the nervous system that you're safe. Otherwise, when the chin's up, we feel really exposed and the nervous system feels like it's in fight or flight. So just make sure you take what you need so that you can help pacify the nervous system. And then once you're on your back, let's go ahead and just take a moment, open our arms out wide, palms up. Feet are on the floor, knees are bent, and feet are nice and wide apart, about mat width apart. And we're just going to do that gentle oscillation that we do. So take a breath in. And as you exhale, spin your head to the right, let your knees drop to the left. Inhale up through center, and exhale, head to the left, knees to the right. So just like that, windshield wiping a little bit side to side, knees and head are going to move in opposite directions here. Just get a little movement in here. Good. And then next time your knees come up to neutral, we're going to hug our knees in and just rock a little side to side here. Split your knees apart and hug them into the armpits and rock a little side to side. Option to take happy baby if you like. Soles of the feet point up to the sky, shins stay perpendicular to the floor, clasp wherever you can. So your shoulders stay on the floor, back of the neck stay soft, and chin stays at the same level or lower than the forehead. And then again, gently rock. Okay, we're going to release that now. Plant your feet on the floor. We're going to take our block, and we're going to slide the block in between our thighs. From here, feet are close by the hips, about hip width apart, so no longer wide apart. They're now about hip width apart, so just in line with the hips, and you can spin your heels out slightly, toes in slightly, just a little micro pigeon toe, right, just to get a little space in the sacral area in the back. And then from here, let's just start to hug our block and spit the block towards the feet. And then pin your tailbone up into the block and just lift your hips like an inch or so. And then gently bring that back down and arch your low back off the floor as you press the sacrum into the floor. So we're just going to tuck and tilt here a few times. So pressing, hug the block, spit it towards the feet, pin the tailbone up, press down through the feet to lift the hips a little bit. And then slowly bring it back down, press the sacrum down, arch your low back off the floor. Let's do that again. Okay. Now, so if that's plenty, you can just leave it like that, just tucking and tilting at the pelvic floor, right? Otherwise, we're going to take the blanket out from behind our head. Now we're going to interlace our hands behind the head. And we're going to start to press our elbows down into the floor as we arch the low back off the floor, expanding the front body. As we exhale, we're going to press the low back down, tailbone up into the block, and then we're going to lift our elbows and bring our chin towards our chest. So inhaling, expanding the front body, pressing your elbows into the earth. Exhaling, rounding, curling up. So tailbone lifts and elbows come together. So let's just move nice and easy, a few sets like this. Good. And then bring your elbows down. We're going to add on, so take the block out from between the thighs. We're going to start to move into diagonal motions. So again, interlace the hands behind the head. Imagine you still got the block between your thighs. You're hugging the block. You're spinning it towards the feet. You're pinning your tailbone into the block. And then you're going to take your right elbow over towards your left hip. Inhale, bring it down. Sorry, so now the sacrum stays on the floor. Exhaling, we're curling to the right. So just alternating side to side. One time, right elbow comes towards the left hip. Inhale through neutral. Expand, let the low back arch off the floor. And then exhale, rounding towards the right. So left elbow curls to the right hip. And so now you're rolling kind of side to side. Sorry, that wasn't really clear earlier. Bad transition. Okay. And then from here, next time your right elbow comes towards your left hip, if you want, you can lift your left foot, bringing the knee and elbow to touch. And bring it back down. I think we did this last week when we were working with the water element too and focusing on the low abdomen. Okay, so staying here, or option to stretch that right arm to the left and send your left foot up into the sky. And bring it back down and curling up to the other side. Okay, so let's just do a few more rounds like that. Make sure you're breathing side to side. Probably feeling some of that fire, some of that inner heat, feeling the abdominal region. Okay. All right, and then bring it back down. This time, knee to elbows. Both knees are going to come towards each elbow. Both feet lift. Curl it up to center. And inhale, expand the front body. Again, exhale, curl it up. And inhale, expand. Just one more. And bring it down. Good. Open your arms out wide. Walk your feet nice and wide apart. And just windshield wiper your knees a little side to side again. Stretch it out a bit. Okay, from here, feet back on the floor, hip width apart. Take your block again between your thighs. Interlace your hands behind your head. And now lift your feet off the floor. Just have your knees bent. We're going to hug the block between our thighs. We're going to spit the block towards the bottom of the mat, and we're pinning our tailbone up into the block. So hips are staying slightly lifted. Exhaling, lift your head straight up. Keep your elbows open. Inhale, head down. Pin your tailbone up. Exhale, head up. Again, inhale, head down. Curl the tailbone up. Exhale, head up. Two more. Inhale, head down. Pin your tailbone up. Exhale, head up. Last one. Inhale, head down. Curl your tailbone up. Exhale, head up. Good, and then bring it down. Release your feet. Take a moment. We're going to come into one more set of those, so just take a beat. You might want to change the clasp behind your hands, clasp of the hands behind the head. Okay, so when you're ready, last set of these. So bring your feet off the floor. You can keep your knees bent again, just like earlier, or you can straighten your legs up towards the sky if that's available. Hug the block between your thighs. Spit the block towards the bottom of the mat. Pin your tailbone up into the block. Inhaling, lift that tailbone up. Exhale, head up. Keep those elbows open. Inhale, head down. Pin your tailbone up. Exhale, head up. Three more. Inhale, down. Tailbone up. Exhale, head up. Last two. Head down. Inhaling. Tailbone up. Exhale, head up. Last one, inhale, head down, pin your tailbone, exhale, head up. And then inhale, head down, bring your feet down, take the block out. Again, walk your feet a little bit wider. And just windshield wiper your knees a little side to side. Okay. From here, feet back to hip width apart. Spin your toes in slightly, heels slightly out. Take your block again between your thighs. We're going to come into some bridge pose. So like we did at the beginning, hug the block, spit the block towards the feet. Pin your tailbone up into the block and then press down through your feet to lift your hips to whatever height works for you. And then exhaling, roll it down. So if you have something behind your head here for this, you might find it's better to remove this prop underneath your head, right? Okay, again, hug the block, spit it towards the feet, pin that tailbone up and lifting your hips to whatever height works in your body. You might pause for a beat at the top of your expression and then exhaling, slowly roll it down one vertebrae at a time. And I just did the no-no, so when you come into this, keep your gaze straight up into the sky. Don't be turning your head. So hug the block, pin that tailbone, up we come, inhaling. So you can keep moving up and down, or the next time you come up, if you feel like you're ready, you can hold the position with your feet pressing down, keeping your hips lifted. You can even walk your hands underneath you and interlace the fingers if you like. Just taking a beat here. And then exhaling, release your hands, lower it back down. Okay. And then from here, let's take the block out from between our thighs. And we're going to hug our knees into our chest and just rock a little side to side. And hugging your knees together, let's circle the knees together in the air so that we massage your low back and sacral area. And circle it the other way. And while we're here, let's hug the knees into our chest and just circle our ankles in the air. Always important to get some movement into the ankles, even if that's not our primary focus today. Circle them the other way if you haven't already. Good. And then maybe some pointing and flexing through the feet here. All right. And then one more time, split your knees apart, rock them side to side. And from here, we're going to roll over to one side, and we're going to come up to hands and knees. So we didn't do a lot of wrist warm up. Let's just do some real quick. So we're going to make fists with our hands, and we're going to circle out our wrists and circle them the other way. And then interlace your hands and just make those figure eights. So again, keep your elbows nice and still. Just keep the movement through the wrists. So none of this. The elbows just stay nice and quiet and you're moving through the wrists. Circle it the other direction. Good. And then change the clasp, other thumb on top. And again, make figure eights. And switch the other direction. And then shake out your hands. Keep your hands shaking, but turn your palms up. And then shake out your elbows as well. Okay, shoulders up and down. Wag the head, wag the tail. All right, so from here, hopefully that warmed up your wrists enough so you can put some weight on them. And then take extra padding underneath your knees if you need. If you've got sensitive knees, then you can open up your blanket or have like one of those knee pads for gardening or anything else that you need to soften it for your knees. If it's not appropriate to be on hands and knees, then again, you can come back to the seated pose to do some seated cat-cow. Although we're going to be doing a little bit of work on our hands and knees here. Okay, so if you are on your hands and your knees, then ground the ball of the index finger, then the thumb down. So those two inner points of the palms come down first. Get those 2 points grounded. Keep them grounded as you spread the palm to get the rest of the hand down. The shoulders are stacked right over the wrists. The hips are over the knees. If this is too much for your wrist, then instead you make fists and you put the knuckles down, right? Okay, so let's take that cat-cow. So inhaling, broaden those sit bones, slide them up. As your belly naturally hammocks down, keep your navel hugging up towards the spine so you don't just collapse into the mid-torso here. And then heart forward, look up. Exhale, reverse, tailbone down, kidneys in. Kidneys inflate, chin towards the chest, crown of the head towards the floor. So you're just oscillating through this a few cycles, ebb and flowing with your breath, in and out through cat-cow. And feel the movement through your spine. Such a healthy movement for the spine. So just getting that undulating movement, moving up and down through the spine. Notice where things move. Notice where things stay as a block. Good. And then next inhale to neutral, big toes together, knees slightly apart. We're going to start to sink our hips towards our heels, letting our torso come towards our thighs as we walk our hands forward. You can come onto the fingertips, so the underbelly of the wrists lift, the underbelly of the armpits lift, the head comes down, forehead to the floor. If the forehead doesn't come to the floor, then you might find it's helpful to have maybe a block or something underneath your sternum, maybe on a slightly higher setting, and then another block for underneath your forehead. If your hips are hovering way up in the air, you might have a folded blanket or some cushions back here. So you have a little something there and you're not just hovering in the air. And then those arms are reaching forward and shoulder blades moving down the back. And take a breath here. If this doesn't work for you, you can always do puppy pose instead. Puppy pose, you keep your hips stacked right over your knees. Your arms are reaching forward like downward dog arms, and your head is between your arms. Again, here, if your palms are down, keep the ball of the index finger and thumb grounded. Keep the inner hand spinning in, and then spin your upper arms away from your ears. Okay, and then from here, we're all going to rise up onto our knees, inhaling, sweep your arms out and up. And exhaling, we're going to swan dive, hinging forward. Slide your hands forward now. Slide forward into a half plank so that your hips come down, so that your torso and thighs are in one line, shoulders are stacked over the wrist, and hover for a moment in half plank. So now think about your inner thighs are still hugging a block and you're spinning the block up to the sky. Your navel's lifting up towards your back, towards your spine. Your sternum's lifting up into your shoulders. But then your tailbone is descending down towards the earth. Keeping all that, hug your elbows in and slowly lower to your belly. Once you're on your belly, toenails are on the floor, hands are on the floor by the heart. Forehead down, press down through the toenails, activate your legs, hug your outer ankles in, inner thighs rolling up, tailbone lengthened towards the heels. Keep all that, press down through the front pubic bone, shrug your shoulder blades down the back, lift the head, back of the neck stays long. So imagine like you're still telescoping the back of the neck, back of the skull up. So your gaze is down and just slightly forward. You're not looking forward or up and crunching the back of the neck. So back of the neck stays nice and long, and breathe here. Exhaling, lower your forehead down. We're going to come back into that mini cobra. So again, activate those legs, press the top of the toenails into the floor, kneecaps lift, inner thigh rolls up to the sky, hugging the outer ankles gently in, tailbone towards your heels, shrug those shoulder blades, lift the heart. And maybe you can find a little more height. Breathe. Exhale, bring it back down. We're going to do it one more time. So activate your legs again. Toenails into the earth. Kneecaps lift. Tailbone long. Inner thighs rolling up. Outer ankles hugging in. Shrugging your shoulder blades. Lift the heart. This time, keep your heart where it is. Keep your chest lifted. Lift your hands half an inch off the floor. And then without your hands, get a little more height. And breathe here. Back of the neck is still nice and long. Breathing. And exhale, bring it back down. And then pressing back up onto hands and knees. And then send it back, either puppy pose or downward or a child's pose. Okay, we're going to slide in and out through that half salutation a few times. So when you're ready, let's come back up onto our knees. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up. As we exhale, bow into the earth. Slide your hands forward, coming into half plank. So letting your hips drop so that your torso and thighs are in one line. Keep those elbows hugging in, navel hugging up. Slowly with control, exhale, lower all the way to your belly. With the inhale, lifting that heart, back of the neck stays long. Exhale, bring it down. And then press up and back into your child's pose again. We're going to do it one more time. So inhaling, coming up onto our knees, greeting the sun, greeting the day. Exhaling, diving. Inhaling, slide it forward, coming into the half plank. Exhaling, lowering all the way to our belly. Lift that heart, inhaling, little mini cobra. And exhaling, press it up and back, child's pose again. This time we're going to come back up onto our knees. And now we're going to take a block between our thighs. We're going to do a little bit of camel pose. So obviously knees are about hip width apart because you got the block or you got something there that you can hug. So hugging the block between your thighs, spit the block back towards the back of the mat, right? So we did this earlier. This creates a little softening through the inner groin. Into that, pin your tailbone straight down into the block. Lengthen the tailbone. Keep your low back long. Shrug your shoulders forward, up, back, and down. And then you can keep your hands on the back of your hips here. Just start to ground down and lengthen up, nice and tall through the spine, shoulder blades down. Keep grounding down through your connection into the earth, lifting your heart. Back of the neck stays long. Maybe you can gaze up ever so slightly. And breathe here. Good. And then like you've got a string connecting into your sternum, and that's the thing that lifts you up. So the head follows. All right, we're going to come into it again. So shrug your shoulder blades up, back, down. Keep your shoulder blades down the back, but broaden the back body as well. Hug the block, spit the block back, pin your tailbone straight down. Lengthen the tailbone long, shrug the shoulder blades down the back again. Get your heart nice and buoyant. Back of the neck stays nice and long. And again, starting to maybe lift up and look up a little. If it's available, your hands can start to slide down the back of the thighs. Whatever is appropriate for you. And then again, when you're ready, imagine a string is tugging you from your sternum, lifting you from your heart. And that brings you up. Okay. All right. And then from here, let's go ahead and come out of that. We're going to take the block out. We're just going to, so now have your two blocks at the top of your mat on the tower setting. We're going to step our right leg through. We're just going to come into a low lunge. So front knee stacks over the front ankle. If it's available, you can curl your back toes under and slide the back knee back a little bit. Straighten out through the back heel. And then lower the back knee back down. So now the back knee is a little bit further away and you're a little bit longer in the stance and you're more towards the top of the knee. You still got front knee over ankle alignment. Scissor the legs towards each other. So rather than collapsing here, scissor the legs, lengthen the tail. Feel your core engaged, shoulder blades down the back. Good. And then we're gonna, if it's steady, you can keep your hands on your blocks. You can bring your hands onto your thighs. Scissor the legs, lengthen the tail, nice and tall through the spine. You can stay here or you can release your arms and then you can interlace your fingers and clasp behind the skull. Use the cupping of the hands to lift the base of the skull, pressing the hands and the head into each other as you start to let your head win. So you're coming again in towards a little bit of a back bend. Shoulder blades are behind the heart, supporting the heart. Tailbone long, back body is long, even though you're curling back into it. Back of the neck is nice and long. You can keep it here, supporting the head, or if you're able to keep the length at the back of the neck, you can take your arms up and breathe. Good. And then from here, we'll bring our arms down And again, curl your back toes under, lift the back knee, press out through the heel, and come back down on the knee. From here, you're going to bend the back knee, bringing your foot towards you and reach for the foot. This is where if it's not an easy reach, you might find it's helpful to have a strap. Although that's not necessarily easy to wrangle either, I understand. But you can use a strap to help you. If it's too much for the knee, then listen to your body and skip this pose. Okay. Otherwise, if you're able to clasp either with a strap or your hands, again, lengthen the tailbone. Get that low back nice and long. And then if it's available, you can start to use your hands to bring your foot a little closer in towards the hip. So we're getting a stretch through the front left quad and hip flexor area. And then we're going to gently release. And then you can just step your right leg back and step your left leg forward. Okay, so again, stack it so you get that front knee over the ankle alignment. You can have your blocks on the tower setting on either side for your hands. Curl your back toes under, lift the heel, press out through the heel to lengthen through that leg, and then gently bring the knee back down. But now your leg is a little bit more lengthened and you land more onto the top of the knee. And then again, scissor the legs. So don't just collapse. Scissor the legs, lengthen the tail, hug your navel in and up. Shoulder blades down the back body, lifting the torso. Hands can come onto the thighs, and you can keep it here. Or if you feel steady, you can release the hands off the thighs, and then interlace your hands with the other thumb on top and clasp behind the base of the skull again. Using the cupping of the hands to lift the base of the skull, shoulder blades down. Start to press the back of the head into the hands and vice versa, letting your head win as you start to gaze up slightly. So the back of the neck is nice and long. Back body is strong, tailbone lengthening. So even though we're curling into the back a bit, the back body stays nice and elongated. And then keeping it here or reaching your arms up. Good. And then we'll release it down. Okay, so again, back toes curled under, lift the knee. Get nice and long through the leg, and then you bring the knee back down. Then you're going to bend that knee and bring the foot towards you and reach for the foot or use your strap, right? Something that can create a bit of a loop. And then lengthen the tailbone long first. So get that low back nice and long before you start to bring the foot in towards the hip. Stretching out through that right quad, front quad area. And then gently release. Okay, and step it back. Okay, from here, let's just take a cat-cow. With your next inhale through cow pose, curl your toes under, and then exhaling, lift your hips up and back into downward dog. So palms of the hands are grounded, especially the two inner points. The ball of the index finger and thumb mounds are grounded. And then let's inhale, bring it back down through cow. Broaden those sit bones, get them sliding apart and lifted. Keep the broadening and sliding up the sit bones as you take your hips up and back, downward dog. Press the thigh bones back into the hamstrings to lengthen the leg, letting the heels descend towards the floor. One more time. Inhale, bring it down. And exhale, lift it up and back. Downward dog. Good. Inhale. Actually, let's stay lifted in downward dog. We're going to walk your feet a little bit wider apart. And then walk your hands just the palm print closer towards the feet. So you're still in a downward dog, but it's just a slightly shorter downward dog. And then we're going to take the right hand and reach up for the outside of the left shin, left ankle, or left heel. And then we can spin to look underneath our left armpit. Breathe. And then other direction. So right hand palm grounds, left hand reaching for the out seam of the right shin, right ankle, or right heel. Spin to look underneath your right armpit. And again, release. Walk your hands back towards your feet, bending those knees. Let your head hang. Hands on our thighs, pressing down through the feet. We're going to rise all the way up, come up to standing, palms together at the top, and hands to the heart. Okay. And then from here, let's just do one salutation while we're up. So greeting the sun. You can even orient yourself towards the sun if you like. Find your mountain pose. So feel your feet on the earth. Get your feet nice and parallel. You can have your feet hip width apart or big toes together, heels slightly apart. Feel the four corners of the feet, lifting those inner arches, inner ankles, inner knees, inner thighs, roll back. Shrug your shoulder blades down the back, ground down. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up. Exhaling, we're going to dive. Hands on your thighs or your shins. Lift your heart up halfway. Inhale. Fold as you exhale. And then walk your hands back towards the top of the mat, coming into your plank pose. You can let your knees come down or stay with the knees lifted in full plank. Hover for a beat. Everything hugs up. Tailbone low, lengthens towards the heels. Take a breath in. And then keep your elbows hugging in with control. As you exhale, slowly lower all the way back down to your belly. Lift that heart up half, or lift your heart, mini cobra. For those of you who do it, you can do upward dog. And then exhaling, send it back into either child's pose or downward dog. Okay, and then from here, let's all meet back onto hands and knees. We're going to come onto our belly and roll onto our backs. And we're going to start to cool it down. So once you're on your back, take a moment to arrive. And again, maybe hug your knees in a little side to side. And we're going to just do a gentle twist either side. So you can bring your feet back on the floor, knees bent, arms open to the sides. Palms can be facing up, shoulder blades down the back. So arms aren't too high up. They're just nice and out from the shoulders or even a little bit lower. Lift your feet and start to roll your knees over to the right. Don't let them come all the way down. And then back up through center and roll your knees over to the left. Again, don't let them come down. And back to the center. Plant your feet. Lift your hips, scoot it an inch to the left. And then lift your feet and let your knees drop towards the right. Taking a twist, take a beat in, and a beat out. Take a nice breath in through the nose. Clear it out through your mouth. And then we'll go ahead and bring the knees back up, plant your feet, square yourself out. And then press down through your feet, lift your hips, scoot them an inch to the right, and bring them back down. And then lift your feet, send your knees over to the left, coming into twist second side. Take a breath in, a clearing breath out. And then when you're ready, let's unwind. Again, square your hips. Last time, hug your knees into your chest, a gentle rock. And then let yourself come into a resting pose, a Shavasana. So whatever is comfortable for you, maybe something underneath your head, maybe something over your eyes. Let the legs move away from each other, arms move away from the body, shoulder blades down the back. Take a deep breath in, clearing breath out. We'll stay in Shavasana for as long as you like. I'm going to be turning things back over to Katie. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Kat, for another wonderful session. All right, well, this week's theme is fire, which is characterized by passion, energy, and transformation. I've selected the book Educated by Tara Westover to share with you. This is Westover's first book, a memoir of her upbringing in rural Idaho. It currently has a 4.47 rating with over 1.3 million ratings on Goodreads, so it is very popular. Westover grew up the youngest of 7 siblings in a strict Mormon family in the small mountain town of Bucks Peak, Idaho. She didn't attend school, and she and three other siblings didn't have birth certificates. Westover's father didn't want the government to know that they existed. He developed politically charged paranoia and wanted to protect his children from the Illuminati. He also spent much time preparing for the end of days. Later, in a college psychology course, Westover would learn that her father exhibited signs of bipolar disorder. To bring in income for the family, her father built barns and sold scrap metal, and her mother created herbal remedies, then became an unlicensed midwife. Her father also refused to seek medical care for himself or his family, even when everyone was in a car accident that left the car wrapped around a power line that left his wife with permanent brain damage. Westover and her siblings didn't receive recommended vaccinations or regular checkups and were often put in harm's way. As a child, Westover's father made her help him look for pieces in scrapyards. One time when they were out, he threw a large object as he was digging and ended up hitting her in the stomach, knocking her to the ground. All he said was, "Oops." Throughout her childhood, Westover and her siblings had been homeschooled by their mother, meaning that they would go off to their own parts of the house and flip through old math and history books. When she was about 10, Westover thought about enrolling in public school. Her mother said that they could always go to school, but they just had to ask their father. Westover said, "But I didn't ask. There was something in the hard line of my father's face, in the quiet sigh of supplication he made every morning before he began family prayer, that made me think my curiosity was an obscenity, an affront to all he'd sacrificed to raise me." Anytime her father caught her reading one of those books, he would force her to stop and do chores around the house or turn off the light and complain about wasted electricity. She persisted, teaching herself math and grammar so that she could take the ACT. She was accepted to Brigham Young University at the age of 17. Her quest for knowledge led her to Harvard for a fellowship and to Cambridge, where she earned her PhD in history. Westover would find herself among the elite and extremely wealthy in the Ivy League world, where she again had to persevere, adapt, and learn. As Westover wrote this story in 2018, she hadn't spoken to her parents in years. Her father had long rejected her, and her mother wouldn't agree to see her without Westover also seeing her father. She reflects on their relationship, of her growth beyond the confines of her home in Bucks Peak, and the abuse that she experienced while living with her father. She says, "I'm not the child my father raised, but he is the father who raised her. You could call this selfhood many things: transformation, metamorphosis, falsity, betrayal. I call it an education." Educated is available in ebook, audio, and physical formats in the library collection right now, so you can check it out for yourself. Thank you again for joining us for Reach and Read, and a big thank you to Kat. We'll be back next Thursday, May 4th at 10 a.m., so we hope to see you then. To find a library location near you, sign up for a library card, or to learn about upcoming programs for all ages, just go to www.saclibrary.org. So for Kat, myself, and the Sacramento Public Library, thank you so much and be well. Bye.